Normally, I don't wear a cow t-shirt, in case any of you are curious. Somebody gave me, I'm so excited, a VIP wristband to ACL. And so, I know, me and my husband. And so, tonight we are going to go see Sir Paul and an older person who continues to tour, to do concerts, to inspire us, to delight us, to entertain us. And so sometimes legends, sometimes you get old enough that you become a legend, right? And so what I do for my day job is I am part of a grant-funded program that helps people over 50 find jobs. And as everybody knows, this is a youth-oriented culture, especially in Austin, and there's a great deal of age discrimination. That doesn't mean that older people are not going to work, but oh my gosh, is it ever hard? It's another barrier on top of a lot of other barriers. And so our speaker is going to be talking to you about a growing trend that's going to make a dent in that discrimination, we hope. So our speaker he's been a frequent speaker at Launchpad and at Product Camp, for those of you who went there. His name is Dan Corbin. He is the Senior Director of Product Management at a wonderful company called Return Path. The title of his presentation is Hiding in Plain Sight: How Return to Work Programs Attract New Candidates. He, as I said, is the Director of Product Management, and he is also an instructor of Product Management at General Assembly. He is a certified Scrum professional with almost 20 years of product development experience. He's also the co-organizer of the Product League and the Agile Austin Product Special Interest Group meetups, as well as an instructor at Agile Austin U. So without any more delay, let me just introduce Dan Corbin.
All right, so I'm here today to talk about returnships. I wasn't familiar with this concept until my company, Return Path, started it at our company. And we weren't the first company to do it. There's others that do it. And it was such a success at our company that we spun it off into a nonprofit and have since gone out and worked with other companies to kind of replicate the program. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. It's going to be, Path Forward is not the only group that does this, but they're the ones that I'm most familiar with, so we're going to talk about them. But I'll mention some others and just some general tips about, oh, I got this. Sorry, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a really fancy speaker or anything. I usually just get up, go through some slides, swear a lot, make some bad jokes. All right, so, oh, this might be a little off. I had to do a last minute conversion. So pretend everything up here looks formatted and pretty. I do want to mention that I am a huge, huge fan of Launchpad Job Club. I love everything that Kathy and Shannon are doing. I've been here twice over the past 10 years. During the Great Recession, like a lot of people, I got laid off. I was at a company where we had 90, law firm, we had 90 attorneys, and I was building software there. We went down to 14, and that was really rough. And then another time, I left a job, and I really wanted to make a career transition. And you know, a lot of the resources here would help me a lot. And since I've been here, it seems like I am fairly accomplished because I do a lot, but it's really in the past couple of years that I've done this. It was only when I hit like 40 that I was like, holy shit, I need to get my act together. And I need to be networking all the time, and I need to be continually building my skills. And that's when I switched into product management full time. I started teaching. I run a couple product management groups. So if you do project management or anything like that, I highly recommend you sign up for the Agile Austin group. Agile skills are absolutely essential if you want to get into tech, software. At my company, Return Path, we have every single company is Agile, or every single team is Agile. If you're in finance, you're an Agile team. If you're marketing, sales, whatever, we use Kanban, Scrum, all of that. And making that transition from just engineering and product being Agile to everyone, including executive leadership, it's really helped us. So if you don't have Agile skills, definitely there's ways, Agile Austin will give you free ways to skill up. Like one of them you can't see is Agile Austin U, 9-week Scrum training class. We're just finishing up tomorrow. Brian's taking it, I've taken it, I've gone on and taught. It's $50 for 9 weeks, great resource. The reason they charge is just because you get dinner. But they have all the Agile leaders come from Austin come in and speak there. So highly recommend that. Hit me up on LinkedIn. If you're interested in product management, I will bombard you with resources and homework, and you will skill up very fast. But I wanted to make sure that I'm really glad that everyone's here. I love coming and talking, and it's amazing like to see that what Kathy and Shannon are doing. They're actually changing lives, helping people get their careers back, and I know because I'm one of them. I kind of just went into this slide. So the one thing I just wanted to start off by saying that job searches suck, and they suck for everyone. And you can always figure out and my wife just went through this. 600 people applied for this job. She got down to the final 2, and then she didn't get it. And it's really deflating, and it's hard. It's an emotional roller coaster. But know that everyone is going through that, and everyone's like, well, I didn't have this, or I'm too, whatever. You can always find something that is going to hold you back, or you perceive will hold you back, but don't make that your focus. Focus on continuing to build up your skills and know that you have amazing skills already that you can build on. All right, so what is a returnship? So what it is basically an opportunity for returning professionals to kind of restart their careers. They're paid internships. They typically last 16 to 20 weeks, and they're open to both men and women. And the great thing is, they often result in a job offer. And when I was working, I'll talk about one of the returnees, because return path, returnship, when you do it, you're a returnee, and who is working for us. We have amazing people that have come through this program. And there's just a lot of people, companies understand that this is a talent pool which they can really tap into and to improve their companies. So more and more companies are doing this by themselves. They're also getting involved in programs like Path Forward. And how many people had heard of returnships before today? Holy shit. It should just be something that everybody should know about because it's a great opportunity. Especially if you've been out of the workforce for a while and you have, what Heather was saying is a perfect example. Return path would be oh, you've got a design background, you understand design concepts, all that, you just need training on software, great. We're going to give you training for the next 4 months, 3 months, and if it works out, and if it doesn't, if it's not a good fit, we've had some people who aren't yeah, this isn't really what I want to do. But you've got something on your resume, and it's a springboard to something. It really is. So why do companies? Man, I keep going ahead in my slides. So I should just skip ahead to 2. So I kind of talked about why companies want this because it's harder and harder with the competition, and they want to be able to find new ways, and it's almost like a risk-free trial run for them. I mean, if they're paying $20, $25 an hour, that's a good risk for them to take to be able to see oh, did we just find somebody here who's going to be with us for a long time and really do great things? Also, it's a way for companies, especially in the tech industry that I'm in, to improve the diversity. And that includes, obviously race, gender, but also age. I see this a lot because I know I work with younger people, older people. As I'm getting close to 50, I know it's harder and harder to get work as you get older. But that doesn't mean your skills have gone away or your ability to perform or how responsible you are. And I think that in our company, we have our company core values. And I know that most companies, they'll have it on their website and then nobody knows what they are and you don't see it live day to day. But in my company, they do. And one of them is equal in opportunity. and that goes for everybody. So we actually, like when I hire, we do a blind audition process, and it's through gap jumpers. So if you're taking notes, because it's not in here, gap jumpers. We just essentially will give them an assignment, and then we look at it, and we read it, and then we move people along based solely on that. So like I'm just total tangent already. I got about 3 slides in. All right, so tangents of gap jumpers. I had one engineer who's now been with us for a few years and has already been promoted. His resume would not have passed the initial screening. He was a manager at CVS for 10 years, went to a boot camp, learned some programming, but just had no experience in the tech industry. Meanwhile, but he did a great job on his sample and his test through gap jumpers, moved along. He came up, the final candidates were the CVS manager versus a guy who had a master's in robotics and had worked at different auto companies on like floors and done programming. But Dane was the better fit. And companies are getting smarter. They're realizing that, does it really matter if you have a college degree, especially in tech, if you can do the work? It really doesn't matter your background. It's more about hiring for your aptitude. What is your potential? And that's what we really focus on, because if you hire for potential, you've got room to grow, whereas if you just hire on experience, I mean, it's important, but especially in product management, as Brian will tell you, you're going to have people who have not been good product managers. Oh, but look how much experience they have. Yeah, but they're not good. Give me the person who's got the potential. So companies are finding ways to figure out what is that potential. All right, tangent's over. We're going to get back to the presentation. All right, I think I've hit all these points. So I wanted to kind of bring up some stats because I'm a product manager and I have to be data-driven. And path forward, we're primarily focused on helping women get back into the job force after they've taken time out for caregiving. And if you see here, this is why. It's 12 times harder for women to get back into the job force after they've been opted out for caregiving. So if you've gone out for disability or recent earnings, or you became a student or retired or whatever, you have a better chance, of kind of being able to kind of make your way back in. And you're in equal men and women. It's basically the same. Whereas being a caregiver, it's much more a burden for the women to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take the time off. I'm going to pause my career and what I've been doing in order to kind of stay home, help the kids or a sibling or somebody or parents. So, and if you see here, this kind of shows the hurdles that parents face when coming back into the job force. So if if you're employed, you have a better chance of getting a call back. If you're unemployed, but because you got laid off, you have a better chance of getting a call back than if you opted out to take time off to help your family. So it's really hard. It's a big struggle. And I know, and one of the reasons I'm passionate about this is because my wife went through it. She's like, no one's going to want to hire me. We moved here from DC. She's like, I don't know anyone. And it's been 5 years, 6 years since I've really done anything. But I was like, listen, I know I have a job and you are way more talented than me. So that something doesn't make sense there. And she ended up, I said, just pick what are your 5 places that you would love to work at. And just see if they need help over the holidays. She did that. She got a call back that day. Now, I'm not saying this is abnormal. But they're like, yeah, holiday's great, but we actually need someone like you full time. And she went and worked at La Patisserie for 3 years, the bakery, doing all sorts of marketing and operations and things like that, and is now working at the Whole Kids Foundation, which is like a nonprofit arm of Whole Foods. So I've seen it, and I know that it's real, and I know that there are extremely talented people who have taken time off to do caregiving that are ready to come in and make major contributions to companies. And this is what I started to allude to earlier. This is super frustrating for me because I know in tech companies there's huge disparity. I'm sure you've heard of the term tech bros. You get into some of these companies and it's just all dudes, and frankly, it's not good. When I went to Return Path, all of my engineers at the beginning were guys, and they're all thought pretty much the same. They're like, just don't care about risk, move forward, cowboy coders, and I just was like, I need to get a new software philosophy on this team, and we need to get a little bit more thought about how do we approach things. And over the years, our team has developed, or like evolved. And now half my engineers are women, and it's something that we've seen like a big shift in my company, and I see the improvement. We're way better. And that diversity of backgrounds, like so someone like Dane, like he thinks differently, and he's able to bring in different experiences from retail, and the same thing, we have people who come from all different backgrounds because we try to hire on potential. But this is one area where companies are really struggling, and so it kind of fits that there's this gap in the market. Companies want to hire more women, have more diversity, and there's a pool of people out there who are ready to step in. So returnships kind of help bridge the gap between employers and highly qualified men and women. And that's why I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Path Forward. But this, I really think that this is so true, that improving women's economic outcomes is not just important for them personally or their families, but a crucial part of a strategy to lift economic growth more broadly. I mean, we've seen this as, like, from the 50s, more women that have been in the workforce, the better our economy. This is very simple, like, economics. And, like, I see, like, on a daily basis, the impact that, and the improvement our company has because we've expanded our diversity. So society cannot afford to squander the talents and skills of people who could be participating more fully in the economy. So this is how Path Forward came about. So I mentioned that it started at Return Path. It was such a huge success that they said, you know what, we can scale this up. And like as a product manager, my job is to see a gap in the market and then to figure out a way to fill that gap and provide that service or product that's lacking. And I have rarely seen a better example of that than Path Forward. So this here is Tammy. She used to work at Return Path. She left to run this organization. This is a cohort of women and men who were hired at PayPal. They were one of our earlier corporate partners, and they came to us and said, hey, you know what, this is great. We think we're going to do like 7 or 8 positions. And then they started getting like the applications, and they're like, just kidding, we think we're going to do like 16. And then it went up to 30. Because they realized, oh my gosh, this is just like a gold mine of talent for us. And they're a growing company. So they, Path Forward, it's nonprofit. We're self-sustaining. So essentially the companies pay to be part of this program. And then everybody at Path Forward makes it incredibly simple for them to kind of get it up. And they do everything in cohorts. So PayPal is hiring at the same time as Apple and Walmart and Return Path and all these others. And it kind of creates this amazing network effect.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So it says there that the program is for people who've taken time off for caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some internship programs where it says you have to have at least 1 year out of the workforce, 2 years, 3 years. Are all of those things a requirement all the time? It has to be for caregiving, it has to be a certain time period, or can it just be anybody who has a gap in their work history, who's been looking?
Yeah.
Or somebody like Heather who's been underemployed?
So the answer is it depends. Like we have kind of guidelines at Path Forward where like you're out for caregiving and it's been for at least 2 years and you have 5 years previous experience. But the end, like but that doesn't mean you can't still apply and be part. That's like a, rough guidelines. It's really up to the company. And the companies that are not part of Path Forward but do it individually and these other groups, it's all sorts. So everyone in this room would be able to qualify it somewhere. And I'll be honest, if you maybe are only out a year instead of 2 years or 9 months, or you took time off because you wanted to go back to school and make a career transition because you were underemployed, and someone sees your resume and thinks you're a good fit, they're not going to be like, not out long enough. So there's guidelines, and we specifically are working towards those who took time off, who opted out for caregiving, but we've also had people who took time off to go into the military and other reasons. So there's guidelines, but it's really kind of open to a lot of different people.
Thank you.
So this kind of shows some of the stats for the people that have been part of the Path Forward program. So on average, they have 11 years experience. They're out of the workforce for 6 years. 95% have a bachelor, and almost 50% have a master's degree or higher. So I think I would just kind of run through these, because right now you've got questions. So are these regular jobs with benefits? Again, typically they are not with benefits, but they are, and it changes from job to company to company, program to program, but they're typically part-time to full-time. Like at Return Path, we're you tell us how much you want to work and what your schedule needs to be, and then we'll fill up your time. Most people choose to work full-time and maybe take 1 or 2 days to work from home. And I think it's like $22 to $25 an hour. Why should I apply for an internship when I have great experience? Well, it's one way to stop that the gap of not working on your resume. It expands your network, builds up your skills, and frankly, most of the people that go through this get offered a job. So when we get to the success stories, there's one woman who was offered a full-time job, but went with Path Forward instead because she saw that it was a bigger springboard and better for her career long-term. So when we have opportunities in Austin, Path Forward, unfortunately, is not in Austin yet. The way that they've been rolling it out is through city by city. So we're in the New York area, San Francisco, LA, and we're doing, we're hoping for next fall. We're doing an event in February at the Capitol Factory because first we need to get the companies involved. And fortunately, you'll see in a little bit, we have a lot of companies. And then hopefully, if we can get enough, we'll get them going with the cohort in the fall. But there's also, that doesn't mean that there's not returnship opportunities available here. There are a lot. We talked about the criteria. Doesn't mean just because you fit the criteria doesn't mean you get the job. That's up to the company. You need to be a good fit. When you're in the program, you are part of a larger network. So you will have communications and contacts and meetings and be able to work with all of the other people that are in your cohort who are working at other companies. And that network effect, I've seen how impactful that can be. Because people have started at Return Path, but gone on to better jobs elsewhere. And that's what the whole program is for. It's not, we want you to succeed and grow. You guys have any other questions about Path Forward? Yes?
Path Forward criteria, what is the Path Forward criteria?
So it's 2 years out of work, 5 years previous experience. Now, if you don't fit that, and it's specifically for caregiving. But if you don't fit that exactly, I would still go and register. Like I said, we've hired people who have taken time off because they were underemployed and wanted to make a career change. We have people who take off military. Another big thing we've had is trailing spouses. So essentially, someone moves here, say from India or another country, they come, And they're like, great, I'm here now. Well, you know, like I just left my job and we're in, you know, New York or California, wherever. They also qualify as well because, you know, that's kind of part of the group that we're marketing. So I love this stat because it's really impressive. 82% of the people in the Path Forward program are offered a full-time job after. And it just shows that the program is working. We set people up for success. We have them go in. We give them the support that they need. We make sure that the companies are ready to onboard them and to have them work in areas and get ramped up and start contributing. And you know, in fact, I had to go and change this because it keeps ticking up. Like it was at 80, and I had to go in there and change it to 82. And I'm hoping at the next time it'll be like 85 or 90. All right, so this is companies that are in our partner program right now. And so you can see wide range. Like there's a lot of tech companies, there's soup companies, a lot of big, you know, people getting in that soup industry these days. But entertainment, you know, Intuit, engineering, accounting with Intact, Return Path. We do stuff for the email ecosystem. So all sorts. The two that aren't up here, which probably should be because it's Apple, the biggest company in the world, and Walmart, the biggest employer in the world, they're both big partners at Path Forward. In fact, Walmart, I know, is opening a huge tech, they're investing heavily in Austin in terms of hiring for their tech. They have a new office going up in Colorado. And those companies, they know that this is a successful program. So they're trying to expand it. And you know, if they have a presence here and they're already doing it in California, I guarantee they're going to do it. And like I know that like Return Path will have positions in Austin again during the next cohort.
And when does that start?
Well, we're hoping for fall. But I'm going to talk about ways that you can start looking for opportunities before then. Yeah.
Also, when I look for those, I usually look under iRelaunch.
Mm-hmm.
What is the connection, the relationship between iRelaunch and Return Path? Is Return Path a subgroup of iRelaunch?
Separate, but we try to cross-promote because it's kind of helping each other. And like they offer things like some of the events and conferences and training and things like that that are a little bit different there because we're working very specifically with these companies and bringing in people, and then whereas they're more of a, I don't know if they have partner companies like that. They have these conferences and events and help you relaunch. So, but I have a slide on that. Yeah. I've kind of talked about this effect, and I was talking with Tammy the other day, and I said, what do you need more of? Do you need more companies, or do you need more like participants to like place at these companies? And she's like, I need more money to grow and to scale up. I said, that wasn't an option. But you know, it really is like if she had the resources, she could just start doing like these, you know, in city after city. And I mean, it's just amazing to see like how the huge benefit that both sides are getting, the people in the program and the companies. All right, so success stories. They have a whole blog on the site of success stories, and I could just do Return Path, but I pulled up a couple. So Stephanie had worked for a while and then took 17 years off to raise her kids. She's still very active in the community, still doing a lot of things. And so, but when she was having a tough time, like figuring out like, okay, well, how do I get actually back in? And no one was really giving her that shot. So she went through Path Forward and ended up at a small company called Volta Charging. And she was so successful and has continued to move up. She's now the director of operations there. And I was home back in Buffalo this weekend, and I was talking to my mom about this, and she raised 6 kids. and then went into work, and she was like, yeah, believe me, like handling that office, being the office manager after handling you guys was a breeze, you know? So I think Stephanie could probably relate to that. And so yeah, the company's growing, and she's growing right there with it. John had taken 7 years off to raise his 2 kids, and he had previously done sales at Verizon. And so he was able to start at ReadyTalk and was like an associate account executive. He was there for like 16 to 20 weeks. They hired him immediately. He's been there for a total of 3 years now, been promoted twice, and doing great. Chandra, like she was the one who was trailing spouses I was talking about. She had worked for a while, and then her family went back to India for 11 years. And she was very involved in the community and doing different sustainability programs, but not really working full time. And then when they came back to the United States, she really was having a hard time getting traction in terms of building her own career and getting more experience. So she is now at Sage Intact, which is kind of financial accounting software, and is working as a sales operation analyst. And Ceci, who I work with, and I love Ceci. She is amazing. She took time off because like she was in marketing, and I don't know, she just wasn't really happy with where her career was going. So she took time off and said, I'm gonna become an engineer. And she went into a boot camp, and we had this opportunity for a returnee software engineer. And she came in, and immediately she was able to use so many of her different skills. And so she was like this force multiplier on our team, because she helped with the marketing side. She helped get better organization. She helped with our team culture. She helped with just all these like little details, and she had design. And while she was doing that, she was building up her programming skills. So we started her on support, and then she became she went from an associate engineer to a regular engineer. She's going to be promoted. Within a couple of years, was offered a job as a manager. It was like, no, I'm not there yet, but give me a couple more years. She's absolutely phenomenal, and I think that there would have been a mutiny. If they had not hired her full time, people just would have walked out. I was like begging the CTO. I was like, do not do this to me. So it's amazing. Like, she's just a perfect example of someone that, given the opportunity, can show that she can build off her current foundation of skills to learn more and to make a huge impact.
Can you tell us what she did before she became an engineer?
I think she did a little bit of design. She was doing SEO and marketing. So she was in the tech space, but had very little real tech skills. But she was smart enough to think okay, I can program. I've seen who has become engineers, and I know I'm smarter than those guys. So she went to one of those boot camps, Iron Yard, and did a really good job on her projects. It really was the fact that she could bring in other skills, and she could see things from a business perspective and marketing, and that just made her so easy to work with. And she made me as a product manager look great. So what type of companies are offering returnships? So I had a huge list of companies that we're working with. This is the whole other list, and I just picked out some that you probably heard of. Goldman Sachs, MetLife, MasterCard, Ford, IBM, Zillow, Marketo. These programs exist at a lot of different companies. It's not just through things like Path Forward. So where can you find it? I pulled this up off of LinkedIn. And is this, I don't know if this is in Austin or not, but yeah, there's returnship opportunities here in Austin on LinkedIn. I looked at Glassdoor. There's 471 companies that are doing returnships now. And I would not be surprised if that number just doubles every year, because this is it's a proven way to get great talent at your firm. The one thing I don't like, though, it's not easy to search on. like you can't just isolate it down. So that is something that I really hope that both Indeed and Glassdoor do a better job of. So we talked a little bit about what if you qualify, and again, it really comes down to the company that you're going to work for. But I would highly encourage everybody. You can craft your story appropriately, And with Ceci, like she didn't take time off for caregiving. I mean, it was self-care in the sense that she's like, I need to get a new freaking job. But it's the companies in the end. They've got their own self-interest. And they're like, oh wait, this guy can come in and immediately help our sales team. Great. We want him to be part of this program, and we get like a low-cost, low-risk trial run to see if he or she can survive. Great. So other resources that you really should take advantage of. Kathy was mentioning iRelaunch. So they, I'll send these out. I just like to photobomb whenever I can. So they're a real pioneer in the career kind of relaunch. They run different career re-entry conferences and events, and they have some good resources online. They do actually work directly with certain companies, like I've got in my notes that they work with over 50 blue chip companies. And I think it isn't necessarily the way path forward. We do cohorts. Like, all right, great. How many are you hiring? You're hiring 40. And you figure out, okay, here's everybody. We start now, and we all meet up. They are just doing the introduction, so they're kind of doing it a little bit more ad hoc. So Reboot.io, they're not necessarily like a returnship site, but they really are it's more of a coaching company that helps you in this process. So they have a lot of self-guided courses for different areas. Everything from how to reboot your anxiety level to reboot your skills to your job interview skills, whatever it may be. Power to Fly, they partner with companies that are trying to improve their gender diversity. So all those tech firms I had up earlier with pathetic percentages of women engineers and women at their company, Power to Fly is trying to help them improve their companies by improving their diversity and inclusion. So I mentioned I met with Tammy, and she's like, you have to recommend this book. Are you familiar with this book?
No.
And I said, oh, great. So one thing I know, I've been at Return Path for 5 years, and things are going really well, very happy, but I know I'm not going to retire there. I know I'm going to have to go find another job, which is why I go out and run meetups and present and try to kind of establish my credentials. But I'm starting to read this because I want to know when it's time for me to get a new job, what do I need to do? And what I like about this is I hate presentations that are very high level, but yeah, okay, you tell me from go to here, but you don't draw the map at all. Like when I was just looking at fly, this takes you step by step by step and helps you kind of go through and figure out exactly what do you want to do and how to get there. Because if you've never, the one thing, so I do a lot of mentoring, helping people get jobs in product management. Because when I made that transition, I felt like I was in the middle of a maze and I was completely blind. And I just had to figure my way out. And now I'm in a position where I can give people a map, give them a flashlight, and point them in the right direction. And it's really up to them if they have the tools to get it done. And so I feel like I know that for product management. This is what he does for everybody, regardless of what type of industry you're in or what type of job you want. She also wanted me to make sure that important things in making job transitions and getting those jobs, and some of the things are what I call connect the dots. So a lot of people that I mentor are trying to get into product management for the first time, and they've done different aspects of product management, but they have to show people, okay, how does my past experience equate to what you're looking for? And we call it connecting the dots. And sometimes you have to speak the language and be able to change things around and know, like, okay, what used to be referred to in like the PMP terms, now in the Agile terms is this. And this is how you mitigate risk, and this is how you do these different things. Know what skills you need to improve upon, and then be tenacious about going out there and getting them. I mentioned Agile. If you want to get into tech or in project management, you need to have Agile skills. Talked about the language. Know what companies are hiring, and know what companies you want to be hired by. So one of the big things that Dev in his book is like, get off the job boards and start focusing on the companies that you want to work for, and then figure out who works there, who do I need to be talking to, what specifically do they look for, what does their culture embrace, and how do I fit in there? And if you do, because like there's certain companies where I'm like, oh, I would totally go work there, and then I talk to people, I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like a nightmare. I'm never going to go work there. Because honestly, culture and value for me is like the most important thing. If you wake up and like hate your job and dread going in, yeah, who wants that? So this, I feel like we'll call this the Shannon slide, because this is ways that you can translate your non-paid work into workforce and be able to show different skills. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll send a slide deck. I'll send like these slides. You can kind of have them. But I thought that this was like helpful resource to have. So participating in volunteer projects, really big, and especially if you can say like, all right, we're gonna for our project, we're gonna set up a Kanban board. None of us have done Agile before, but we're gonna give it a try, and we're gonna have different statuses, and we're gonna make cards for things, and we're gonna size things. This is really important. Like doing that volunteer work that builds up your skills is absolutely critical to kind of leapfrogging into that new role. So I've got more additional resources. These are different companies, Comcore, Procanga, all these that I think you'll want to check out. And then Path Forward resources, lots of good articles, lots of good tips and tricks. And again, I'll send this with all the links. How can we help? Definitely register. Definitely register. And if you know people at companies that you're like, you guys should really do this. I kind of tout this all the time. You're like, let me know when the presentation is, or the event is in February. My company has to take part in this. So tell executives, register, feel free to donate. That's Tammy. I also want to mention the Path Forward Career Restart Kit. It's a 4-part series that we put together that people have found really helpful with lots of links and things to kind of help. And then you can read more success stories. That's it. Yes?
When you say register, you go into pathforward.com or whatever it is, and then is there a place to post your resume, or do you just say, I'm interested? How do you
you essentially say, I want to be a participant. And like there'll be a link. You go into pathforward.org, you go in and you register, you say, I'm in Austin, so that when we get our Austin cohort up, you're going to be alerted and you're like, here's all the companies, here's all the jobs. And then.
So you don't post your resume?
I'm not sure.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you saying that all these jobs are available here in Austin, or is it all over?
Most of the Path Forward jobs are in New York, San Francisco, LA, and I feel like Chicago or something. So they're rolling out city. Oh no, I'm sorry, Colorado, Denver.
Las Vegas.
I believe so. Yeah. No, Los Angeles.
This is what is on, I think it's on your website.
Oh really? They were rolling out city by city, and so Austin, we're having the kind of kickoff event in February, for the hope that we can hopefully get the cohort going in the fall. But that doesn't. There's still these jobs out there, Glassdoor and LinkedIn, and you'll see the different. There's a link in the resources, I think it's the very first one, companies that do returnships, and you'll have to go there and just kind of check and see if any of them are in Austin. Which is why, I wish LinkedIn and Glassdoor did a better job of localizing, so. Yep.
What kind of support does Pathward give to companies, like coaching, training, and so forth? And do companies say, you know, I want to help, I want to be on your board, or what kind of relationship is there with that?
So the companies pay us like a flat fee, and then we almost like basically set up the whole program. We go through, do the initial vetting, we help them pick their people, we have all these templates, I get everyone together periodically, we run the meetings, make sure that people are adjusting and feel like they're succeeding. We give like how-to and guides to managers and things like that. So we make sure that the companies are setting the participants up for success. And then, yeah, it's amazing, like, because we have a lot of interest from different companies, and they want to know, all right, how do we expand this? And like companies like, you know, I mentioned PayPal, they can't get enough of this. Like, this has been phenomenal for them. Yes.
Are you going to do like a spin-off to help get more women into politics?
That's a great idea. That's definitely, like, that is a gap in the market that we need to fill. I endorse that wholeheartedly.